Kal Kadosh, Boker Or. Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Mem Aleph Amud Aleph 41a1. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Ishmael, if our Mishnah is talking in Shitat Rabbi Ishmael, my Idia lo yichadu. What are we talking about then? That we're talking about that we didn't designate a place for them. Afilu yichadu, even if you did designate a place for them, Nami also the shomer is going to be patur, because Rabbi Ishmael says that you don't need dat balim to give back something. You remember we brought down that according to Rabbi Ishmael, even if a person stole something, he doesn't need to have dat balim to give it back. He just puts it back and that's it. He just gives it back to him. And then he's going to become patur for monsim. So says the Gemara, Lomi baya kamar. It's not only that you need to say that. That's what we mean. Meaning, Lomi baya, not only in a case where yichadu, where a person is going to designate the mikomahu, that's its place. Ela afilu lo yichadu, that even if you weren't miyached, telam mikomahu, that it's not its makom, lo ba'inan dat balim. You don't need dat balim. So in Masechet, let's see the seifa. It says yichadu la balim makom. If the balim came and they designated a place, vetiltela v'nishbera, and then they were metaltel and then it broke. Ben mitoch yado ben mishinicha, whether it was in his hands or when he placed it down. If it's going to be letzorko for his own necessities, he's going to be chayav. If it's going to be for the necessities of the barrel, he's going to be patur. So you see from here that if a person's going to be metaltel, right, letzorko, he's going to be chayav on the onsim, even after you put it back to its place. So this is against Rabbi Ishmael, because Rabbi Ishmael says you don't need that balim, you put it back kaddish. Kamanu. So answers the Gemara. Atan le Rabbi Akiva. This goes according to Shitat Rabbi Akiva. The Amar that he says that you do need dat balim, ba'inan dat balim. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva. If we're talking about Shitat Rabbi Akiva, that you need dat balim, my idia yichadu. So then, what do I care whether you designated a place? Even if you weren't miyached a place, it's still going to be chayav. Why? Because since you need dat balim, what do I care now? You were designating a place. Not that you have to let the balim know that you stole it and you give it back. What do I care now whether you were designated a place, didn't designate a place? The designation of a place has no difference in halacha. You have to notify the owners. Says the Gemara, Lomi baya kamar. Not only in the case where lo yichidu, that you didn't designate it, that it's not the normal place. Even if you were miyached makom, mekomahu ba'inan dat balim. You need dat balim. So Reisha Rabbi Ishmael Sefer Rabbi Akiva asked the Gemara, how does that make sense to say that the Reisha is Rabbi Ishmael and the Seifa is Rabbi Akiva? Many times it's very dochak to say that. Meaning the Reisha is talking about Rabbi Ishmael, that you don't need dat balim to give back. And the Seifa is Rabbi Akiva, that you do need dat balim to give back. And so the Gemara, yes. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, Mad metargem li chavit aliba dechad tana. The one that's going to be metargem, the concept of a chavit, is going to be according to one Tana, which means our Mishnah is according to one Tana. Movilna mane batre lebe masuta. He's going to take the kelim after him to the Bet HaMerchatz, which means, right, that it's not going to be that the Reisha and Seifa are two different Tanaim. Meaning, he went and he said, if somebody is going to be able to explain to me the Mishnah in a way that basically it's all one Tana, I'm going to take them their kelim afterwards. Meaning, like, I'm going to serve them kilu that they're big rabbis. Why? Because it's very difficult to do that. It's basically one thing is one and another one is other. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, Tirgema Rabbi Yaakov bar Abba kamed Rav. So translated Rabbi Yaakov bar Abba in the name of Rav, where we're talking about Shenitala minat lo gozla. You took it to steal it. So therefore, if you took it to lend it out, like to borrow it, Shalom midad balim, and then you give it back, so therefore you just could put it back there however you wanted. Right? But if right now you took it to steal it, then you have to actually need that balim to give it back. You understand the difference? One more time. If you're the one that's taking care of it. If you took it just to borrow it, so then in such a case you put it back. As long as you put it back, that's already okay. You don't need a big returning. Why? Because you just took it to borrow it. Was it right? No, but okay. But if you took it to steal it, there you need hashava me'alia. There you need a good return. Meaning that means even though the owner doesn't know the difference, because it wasn't in the owner's possession, but the fact that you took it to steal it, you have to mamash give it back in such a fashion, right, that we mentioned before. Okay? So, translated of Natan bar Abba in front of Rav, that you took it in order to actually keep it, which means like mamash ligzol, only part of it, and not the entire thing. So therefore, even if you're going to give it back, so he says you're going to be chayav on everything, because once you took it to steal it, even if you didn't have the time to steal the entire thing, but still, you're going to come and you're going to do everything. Okay? Huh? So what's the argument exactly? We're talking about in a she'ela to do a shlichut yad that the Torah obligates when the shomer has to actually is going to make a little bit less of the pikadon until it's going to be putting the pikadon back. So therefore, man de'amar legozla, according to the man de'amar that he came to steal the entire thing, he holds shlichut yad tzicha chisaron, needs chisaron. But according to the man de'amar lishloach bayad, and to even steal part of it, he holds shlichut yad en tzicha chisaron. So basically the question is, the guy only wanted to steal a little bit of it, not the entire thing. If he was going to steal the entire thing, so then you're right, he would have to actually come and give it back and the owner would have to know. But since he's only stealing part of it, does the owner have to actually know and everything that he's putting it back and not? So that's the question, the machloka between them. So mat ifla Rav Sheshat. Rav Sheshat comes and he asks the following question. Midi netala ketani, are we talking about netala? Tiltela ketani, we're talking about tiltela. What does that mean? Elaman Rav Sheshat, but rather Rav Sheshat says, Hachama eskin, what are we dealing with? Kegon shetiltela leavi alea gozalot. We're talking about that they were metaltel in order to bring the gozalot. Bekasavar, so he holds, shelomi dat is gazlan havi. So shelomi dat is considered a gazlan. Okay, and therefore he's going to be chayav in onsea gezila until he actually gives it back. Which means that since here you were carrying it out, so therefore it's a shoel shalomidat. Shoel shalomidat means you're borrowing without permission. And a borrower without permission is considered a gazlan. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, V'kula Rabbi Ishmael hi. And the entire thing is Rabbi Ishmael. V'seifa, and the seifa is talking about shenicha b'mkom she'ena mekoma, that you're placing it in a place which is not the normal place. For Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, henicha b'mkoma mashma. It's mashma, enicha means that you placed it in its normal place, which means that you have to actually put it back in the normal place. That means even if it came out of its place, we're talking about the shomer to put it back exactly where it was. And he's still going to be chayav, okay, as we mentioned before. So itmar, it was stated, Rav and Levi. Chad Amar, one of them said shlichut yad tzicha chisaron. One of them said that it needs a chisaron, and therefore as long as there was nothing lacking, he's not chayav in the onsim. The Chad Amar shlichut yad en tzicha chisaron. The fact that you actually took it, even though you wanted to steal only part of it, you're going to be chayav in all the onsim. Okay, because it doesn't need any lacking of it. So tistayem, we wanted to bring a proof, right? The Rav Huna Damar, that it's Rav Huna that says shlichut yad en tzicha chisaron. The time is we learned in the right there. Roeh shaya roeh dro. If you have a shepherd that he was doing his things in the flocks, he left the flocks and he came to the city. It came a wolf and he grabbed one of the keves. And then came a lion and took another one, right? The keves. Patur, he's going to be patur. But it means anything which is going to be taken by a lion or by a wolf, he's going to be patur. He's not going to have a chayav on onsim. But if he placed his makel and tarmilo, which is basically his staff and money pouch on top of it, yeah, chayav, he's going to be chayav. So we ask, mishum diniach, why? What? Just because he put his staff and his money pouch on, he's going to be chayav? Hashaklinu, at the end of the day, he could take it off it afterwards. So he says, if it's still on it. Meaning, right, he never was machzid the gizela to the person's property. And therefore, he's still chayav onsim. Which means that this, one more time. The guy is in charge of the sheep. But he went and he took, right, the makel and the tarmil. Which means, okay, here it says it's actually the flask of water. That's a tarmilo. Right? Which means that he placed the makel and the tarmil on top of it. So we asked, one second, why would he be chayav exactly? Right? Even if he's going to place the chevtzei roya on top of it, it's not considered shlichut yad. What's going on? And he put it back. So he says, no, since it's still on the animal, he didn't put it back. So since he didn't put it back, he's chayav on the, on the makel and the tarmil. He's going to be chayav on those two things, because he didn't put it back to its normal place. So ask the Gemara, you didn't do kinyan meshicha. Right? Doctor, you understood the case. One more time. You come and you gave me sheep. By the way of the sheep, I come and I put your money pouch, or I put your flask, or whatever it is, on top of it. Now came a lion, boom, took one. Came a wolf, boom, take the... Now technically speaking, on the lion and the wolf, I'm going to be patur, because that's onsi. But on your staff and on your thing, I'm going to be chayav. Now the question is why? So he says, because at the end of the day, he was still on it when it was taken. So the Gemara asks, but what did I do? So he says the fact that I put the money pouch there, or whatever it is, the flask and the staff there, and I didn't put it back in its original place, I'm going to be chayav for it. Okay, but the Gemara asks, but you didn't do meshicha, you didn't draw it forth. You didn't do meshicha to acquire the staff and all these things. You hit it with a makel, with a staff, and then it ran in front of you. So therefore, he comes and he says, right? So therefore, that's already enough, because that's already considered meshicha. You remember we learned this already. Meaning the fact that I already hit it a little bit and I directed it, that's already considered that I did kinyam meshicha, even though I didn't pull it. So ask the Gemara, v'halo chisra, but you didn't make it lose anything. The fact that you give it a little tiny patch or whatever it is and moved over, right, and moved upwards, well, what does that change? So says the Gemara, no, because when you hit it with the makel, you made it weaker. The daikanami diktani also he kisha b'makel. Shema mina. So therefore, that's what we wanted to learn. That Rav Huna is the one that holds that shlichut yad needs chisaron. So since Rav is the one that says shlichut yad tzricha chisaron, Levi is the one that says shlichut yad does not need chisaron. My tama de Levi. What's the reasoning of Levi? Amar Rabbi Yochanan mishum Rabbi Yosef ben Naor. I mishuneh shlichut yad amura b'shomer sachar mishlichut yad amura b'shomer chinam. There's going to be a difference between shlichut yad, right, which is written by shomer sachar, and shlichut yad amura b'shomer chinam. Shlichut yad means that he put his hand in it, which means I'm a shomer, whether it's a shomer chinam or a shomer sachar. Yeah. So now what happens is that, right? How do you call this? So now what happens is that you're going to come and you're going to, it's going to be different whether you're shomer sachar or shomer chinam. Remember, shomer sachar is your paid custodian, shomer chinam your unpaid custodian. But still, there's going to be a difference in if you put your hand in it. Mem aleph amud bet. Va'ani omer, and I'm going to say, ena meshuneh. It's the exact same thing. Salam shos. Meaning there's no difference between the shomer chinam, shomer sachar. There's no difference between them. They're the exact same. So the Gemara says, my meshuneh. What exactly is the difference? Meaning, what's the difference whether you're shomer chinam or shomer sachar? If you took whatever you were watching and you put your hand in it, what's the difference between them? Why all of a sudden now is it going to be different?
Physically put your hand on it?
Meaning that you wanted to steal it or you wanted to use it. That's a kavanah, shlichut yad. So he says, Lo te'amer shlichut yad b'shomer sachar v'teiti mishomer chinam. Says the Gemara, don't say it by shomer sachar and only learn it by shomer chinam. And say, just like a shomer chinam, you're going to be patur from geneva v'aveda, but if you put your hand in it, you're going to be chayav. I'm not paid. I'm doing you a favor, David. I'm watching over your phone. If somebody steals it or loses it, what happens? I'm patur. I'm unpaid. So if I'm going to put my hand in it, I become chayav. Kal v'chomer shomer sachar, that if you're going to be chayav on geneva v'aveda, if you put your hand in it, you're going to be chayav. That's the question, right? So he says kol lo kol sheken. So says the Gemara, lemay hilchata katvinu. So why did the Torah write it then? Lomar lecha, to tell you shlichut yad and tzricha chisaron, to tell you that shlichut yad does not need any type of a chisaron. Meaning, since the pasuk is extra, we're learning that even without losing anything or without lacking anything, you're still going to be chayav. You're still going to be chayav in such a case. So says the Gemara, okay, Vani Omer, if I'm going to say, Ena Meshune, it's not different. Rabbi Lazar, like Rabbi Lazar, Damar, Daveda, Achati. The Shlichut Yad, whether it's by Shomer Chinam or Shomer Sachar, Selam Shos, it's one thing. זה בדיוק אותו דבר. Okay? Okay. My Daveda Achati, what does it mean they're both the same? Shundika Mifra, because you could ask, מה שמל לשומר חינם, שכם משלם תשלומי כפל, דוהן תנא גנב. השומר חינם does pay תשלומי כפל when he is טוען טענת גנב. One more time. A guy comes and he's a shomer chinam. It gets stolen. Is he chayav? No, he's patur. What happens though if he says it was stolen, but he stole it himself? He has to pay kefil.
Because it has nothing to do with the fact that he was shomer chinam.
Exactly. Because that means there's a chidush that even though if it was really stolen, he's patur. When he's to'en that it was stolen, meaning that's his claim, and really was false, he has to pay for it. And not only does he pay, he has to pay kefil, double. So therefore, he's coming and saying, so you do see that we were machmir and shomer chinam even more than a shomer sachar sometimes. So therefore, that's a question against the kal v'chomer. We wanted to make a kal v'chomer. If a shomer chinam is patur from gneva v'aveda, and shlichut yad is going to be chayav, kal v'chomer, the other case, which is going to be shomer sachar. He says over here, what are you talking about? Here also you have the same thing. Okay? Fine. So says the Gemara. Yeah? Uman de lo parich, and the one that doesn't ask the question, Savari holds, Karna belo shvua adifa mikfeela b'shvua. Keren, without a shvua, meaning the chiyuv of a shomer sachar to pay the principal without a shvua is better than paying kefel with a shvua. Meaning, one more time, by the shomer chinam, you need a shvua. And there you have to pay the kefel. By a shomer sachar, you don't need a shvua, and you already pay keren. He says it's much better, meaning it's much more strict, paying the keren, the principal, without a shvua, than paying kefel with a shvua. Meaning shomer sachar is better than a shomer chinam. The shomer chinam, you're patur, but you have to give a shvua. But now if you actually lied, and then you would have to pay the kefel. But that's worse than a case of the keren, which you have to pay by a shomer sachar without a shvua. But shomer sachar has to pay the keren, the principal, even without a shvua. Automatically he has to pay the principal. Okay? Rava comes and he says, Lo te'amar, right? Don't say now, shlichut yad, lo b'shemir chinam, lo. Don't bring it at all. V'teiti, and why don't we bring it from a shoel? Just like a shoel, and it's done diledat ba'alim kavin, meaning when you borrow something, here we're obviously talking about that you borrowed it with permission. Yeah? We're not talking about that you took my art scroll without permission. Right? We're talking about that it was with permission. So if you're borrowing something with permission, so therefore they know it, and still you're going to be chayav shalach bayad, shomer chidam shomer sachar, so should it be kavachomer a shomer chidam shomer sachar? Meaning before we wanted to say is it selam shos, not the mishos, and we wanted to say that it's brought down by. Why do you have to bring it down by shomer chidam shomer sachar? Bring it only by a shoel, and now that you bring it by a shoel, now you're bringing it here. Kol sheken. So says the Gemara, so lama ne'emar, so why do we say it? Chada, number one, to tell you shlichut yad tzricha chisaron, and the other one to tell you that yolavo min adin liyo kanidon, that it's enough to come to be judged like the original judgment. Ma shoel be'ba'alim, just like shoel is going to be in the ba'alim, and it's going to be patur, so too shomer chinam ve'shomer sechar be'ba'alim, and you're going to be patur. So too shomer chinam ve'shomer sechar, you're going to be be'ba'alim, and you're going to be patur. Ulmandam, and according to the mandam, shlichut yad tzricha chisaron, hani tarti, these two things, which are going to be shlichut yad, lamali, why do I need it? So he says, chada, one of them, shalot tomar dayo lavo bin adin liyo kanidon, ve'idach lechetanya, and the other one, because we're going to learn in the Braita, ve'nikra balabayt el elokim, lishvua. That is going to be for a shvua. Ata omer lishvua, do you tell me that it's going to be for an oath, or an eldin, it means that you're coming to the beddin. So just like over there we're talking about that is shavua, so to here we're talking about a shavua. So each one is talking about a shavua. Okay?